one thing that I wanted to talk about was what happens to our bodies after we die. Because I tell my wife that what I want is I want to own land. I want my dead body put in a box, a wooden box, and I want the wooden box buried, and I want some sort of bush, tree, or garden planted on top of me. She tells me that might not be legal. So what goes on, and it's different from state to state. We'll hit the rest of the world next, but let's just deal with the United States. What goes on with our bodies?
It varies completely differently in which state you live in, and then which county you live in, and then which city you live in. So wow. I'm licensed in Nevada and California, and they're very different. So in Nevada, if you have your own plot of land out in the desert, you can do what you want, essentially. But if you're in California, you can't do that. And it's tricky because there's a lot of, the unfun answer is there's a lot of zoning laws that prevent you from that, because you could own your own property, but the ownership of property only goes so far deep into the soil. After that, it's, the state of California owns that, because that's where all the pipelines are. That's where all the electrical stuff is.
Water table.
You can't privately own that. So how far deep do you need to go? The other question is that prevents
2 feet. I'm good with 2 feet personally, but
the other question is the zoning rights for it. No one's going to allow that in California, because even if you do it and you do it in your own backyard, the whole community is fine with it. How are you going to resell that house when there's a dead body in it? Some people might love it. Realtors aren't really happy about that, because it's hard to sell a body. It's hard to sell a house that has a dead body in it. It's hard to sell a house where a murder or a death has taken place. So there's an actual foreign corpse. It's not like it's your family's corpse. It's your family moved out. How are we going to sell this? That brings property value down, and it's just... So a lot of places are against it. If you live in California, there's a program with the Joshua Tree National Desert where you can do that, and it's exactly non-embalming, just in the ground eco-funeral, but you have to get on a waiting list.
I see.
And you have to be approved.
Interesting.
So it's
a waiting list. How does that work? I mean, what do they freeze you and thaw you out when you're ready, or?
It's a lot like body donations for science. Is if you die, a lot of people are like, oh, just donate my body to science. You can't do that, because a lot of your body has to be right. You cannot die of certain things. You have to be certain qualifications. The company has to know, usually university has to know ahead of time. So all these death planning things, people have to plan way in advance if they want something other than the, cremation or the burial.
I see.
Right. But the shady part is, if you go into a modern cemetery, you can't just be a box in the ground. You have to be, even if you're not embalmed with all the carcinogenic chemicals, you can't just go in the ground. You have to be in a certain steel casket, and then you have to buy and be buried inside a cement vault. And that has to go in the ground. Why? Because it allows maintenance to be cheaper. If there's a bunch of boxes and coffins in the soil becomes uneven, and that's harder to mow. So they make you buy this cement thing that keeps the topsoil even, so that the gardeners can just mow over it faster and more cheaply and not work overtime. Which is also why you see a lot of cemeteries with those flat plaques instead of the tombstones. Tombstones are difficult to mow around, which makes costs go up. Wow. So, yeah, it's all...
That is really, really sad. See, I always thought it was weird that they embalmed you and then put you in a metal casket so that you would, last forever underground. It's like, if you just bury a body underground, first of all... Okay, if you just bury a body underground, how long does it last? I mean, you're saying oh, we don't want to buy the house because there's a body under there. But I mean, wouldn't that be gone in 2 years?
Not the skeletal remains, because the skeleton has a lot of inorganic material in it, which is why, archaeologists can find it up. It takes
that makes sense.
Long time for a skeleton to decompose into the earth. So, you could not be told about it. You have your family. You're digging for a pool or you're digging for something. Suddenly there's the skeleton in there, and you're like, why didn't the realtor tell me? Why didn't the foreign family? Lawsuits start happening.
So, that's just Chauncey.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
Welcome to the radio, Wasteland. Hello, my darling. Welcome to the